Hi there and welcome to the Colton Boutique Show. My name is Daniel Patterson, International Sales Director. Today we are joined by a familiar face to many of our clients who are aware from our newsletters of Mr. Jonathan Whitley. For those who are unaware, this is an opportunity to meet Jonathan for the first time. He is nicknamed our roving reporter as he likes to travel. I think that's fair to say. Jonathan, thank you for joining us today and welcome to the show.
It's a great pleasure.
How have you been?
I've been fine, thank you very much. Last week I was at a tasting for Burgundies at the RAF Club in Piccadilly.
Very nice.
The year's got off to a good start.
Yes, and what vintage was that? The 2018 vintage?
It was the 2018. See, right across, it was Bouchard and William Febvre.
Oh wow!
Right across. I mean, you can't get much better than that.
That's true.
William Febvre based up in Chablis, Bouchard based in Beaune, and right across it was a horizontal tasting right across the Eau de Gamme.
Yes.
Vin d'Eau de Gamme,
yes,
as they say.
Yes. And obviously Burgundy being one of the hottest regions for wine across the globe, aside from your travels to Burgundy, where else have you been travelling the last, say, 12 to 18 months?
In the last 12 to 18 months, I've been in Spain. Last year, in June, July of last year, I decided I happened to be on a sunlit square in Cadiz, and across the way there was a building that looked like a tourist office. Turned out to be a language school. I picked up a leaflet. My Spanish, I'm a fluent French speaker, but my Spanish isn't quite up to that standard.
Okay.
And I picked up this leaflet and thought, yeah, maybe one day I'll do it. Went home, and 10 days later, I was leafing through a pile, found this booklet and thought, I'll do this. So I emailed, and I went out to Cadiz for 2 weeks, and took part in this Spanish course for adults. And I was actually with there were half a dozen of us in the classroom, and five of them were German, plus me.
Oh,
so I had a little bit, and their Spanish, has to be said, was more proficient.
Okay.
So a bit of an uphill struggle.
Yes.
But we got there in the end.
Good. And how is your Spanish now?
Not, but well, I have to say, I need more practice.
Yes.
Were I to have learnt Spanish for as long as I've been learning French, that would be my Spanish would be on the same level. But as I've just explained, it's not. But little by little we get there.
Yes.
My Italian's not bad, however.
Okay. So if you was to rank your expertise in languages, first would be French.
Yeah.
Second Italian.
Yeah.
And
third would be
English.
Well, English is. I was born with it. So, yes. I was practically born with French.
Oh.
But some people think I am French. I mean, when I speak to French people, because my accent is pretty good.
Yes.
But I was lucky enough to be taken by my parents to France on holiday when I was 3.5. So
3.5.
3.5.
Very young.
Put the car on. Yes, the car went onto the plane. We put the car on the plane at Lille, and it came off at Le Touquet. My father drove down from Le Touquet to the French Riviera.
Wow. And with your studying of the French language and French heritage, how long was you studying? I suppose the language or France as a whole? I was
lucky. I started learning French formally when I was 7.
Okay.
And then I went on to do it in secondary school. I did a degree in it, which gave me a year abroad in Dijon.
Oh, lovely!
Right at the top of the Côte d'Or.
Yes.
And but the trouble was that at weekends I was confined to the town. I didn't get out of town very much, so I didn't get down into the wine villages. I remedied that about 14 years ago. I went on a walk from Fixin to Santenay. That's north to south. Through this lovely, I mean, you visualise, I can't see one, but visualise that wonderful map that Bouchard have.
Yes.
Our vineyard, going from east to west to east, Santenay on the left, Dijon on the right.
Okay.
And it goes through these wonderful parcelles. Burgundy, of course, has just been the parcelle of Burgundy have recently been given a UNESCO World Heritage title, which they campaigned for the last for several years, and I think it was granted to them finally in just a few years ago now.
Yes.
It's now a World Heritage Site, so they can't do anything. It's there for good.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant.
As are lots of
Yes.
heritage UNESCO sites in France.
Yes.
We're so lucky.
Yes. And as we know as well, Jonathan, as well as appreciating French culture in your travels, you also enjoy your wine tastings. You also enjoy eating well.
Oh yes.
If we was to come over to your home, or if you was to lay on a party, so to speak, what would your food and wine pairings be? What are some of your personal favourites that you feel others should try if they haven't tried already?
I think these days, the set rules that you shouldn't pair fish with red wine or meat with white wine go out of the window.
Yes.
It all depends on, or even white wine with cheese.
Yes.
They go out of the window. You can have some very salty white wine, which goes perfectly with the blue cheese. It's a dry white wine, and maybe a Loire.
Yes.
A Loire. A Loire. I say Gros Plan.
Yes.
Would go nicely with a very salty cheese. And likewise, you could have a fairly meaty fish, like say hake,
Yes.
which you could put with red with no difficulty at all.
Yes. And would you say like a more lighter style of red, like a Beaujolais maybe, or is that too light? Or
Yeah, you could put a Beaujolais, but yeah.
yeah. Okay. Now speaking of obviously, peculiar pairings like red wine and
I thought you were talking about
fish.
mine.
Not yet. Well, we cannot do that for the podcast. That's X-rated, Jonathan. But
No, they're not around to answer back, are they?
that's for sure. However, you're rather traditional in your tastes, and among your years of sampling some very good wines, some very bad wines. For you, for the positive reasons, what would you say has been the biggest eye-opener in terms of a wine or a region or a country?
Well, this is not the last time I'm going to come back to Burgundy in this chat. I went. It must have been 20 years ago now.
Okay.
I was working for a hotel marketing company, as a private contractor, and we had a campaign in Paris at the Grand Hotel Intercontinental, which was right opposite the opera. The Palais Garnier.
Yes.
Right in the centre of Paris. And one evening at this hotel, there was a tasting for Joseph Drouin.
Okay.
And I tasted Corton Charlemagne, a very, very famous Burgundy white,
Right.
For the very first time, and it blew my socks off. I mean, I write in my tasting notes for Chablis.
Yes.
I just wrote blow your socks off.
Wow.
But this particular, I can't remember the video. It would have been, if it was 1989, I think it would have been 1989. It'd probably be about something like 87. Vintage would have been 87.
Yes.
Corton Charlemagne. It was
Phenomenal,
wonderful.
yeah.
Well, absolutely phenomenal. And I vowed, because as you will know, Corton Charlemagne is not it doesn't come to a penny. And I vowed that for my 50th birthday I would treat myself to a bottle, because they're around £100 a bottle.
Wow.
And it hasn't happened. I decided something got in the way. I didn't. But one of these decades, I'm going to treat myself and just enjoy it.
The bucket list wine,
Yes.
so to speak, to revisit
Yes.
once again.
And there's also, I tell you, this ties nicely in with the wine tasting. There's also a restaurant very, very close to the Corton vineyards,
Okay.
called Le Charlemagne.
Yes.
And it's a fusion. It's a a Japanese French fusion restaurant. I think the chef is French and his wife is Japanese.
Oh, wow.
And so there is slight Oriental influence.
Yes.
Particularly white wine.
Yes.
So my one of my ambitions, not which I must soon achieve, given in the grand scheme of things, is to go to this restaurant and eat there, looking out over vineyards with a bottle of Coton Charlemagne. There you are. What could be better?
Heaven in the restaurant.
Indeed.
Now, speaking of going slightly off topic, I suppose. Speaking of, again, going back to wine pairings and food pairings, etc. And you mentioned about Southeast Asia and France. There is an uncommon misconception, maybe a common misconception, if you can call it that if you're going to have Southeast Asian food, that there is no wine to pair with it. However, there are people that would argue if you are going to pair Southeast Asian food, you should have it with Rieslings. Where would you stand on that?
Riesling, yeah, off dry Rieslings is a good I would say that's a good pairing with Southeast Asian food.
Yes.
Otherwise, a whole lot of French Alsace wines. French wine from the Alsace.
Oh, stunning!
You've got your Pinot Gris.
Yes.
You have Gewürztraminer is the classic example.
It is.
That would go. And I tell you what else is nice with Asian food.
Yes.
I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. And I can see the bottle. Sorry, it's not. It'll come back.
It will come back.
But certainly Gewürztraminer. Torrontés. Yes, there we are. Torrontés.
Yes.
Argentina.
Yes.
We're going
beautiful.
We're going right to the other side of the world.
We are. Amazing.
But an Argentinian. This is a wine. This is a wine that I came across for the first time. It was from a newspaper article. I bought it in Safeways. There you go.
Wow.
Safeway's not been around for a long time.
No, it hasn't.
Caballo de Plata.
Okay.
Silver. What is it? Silver horse. Caballo de Plata. Torrontés. Okay. Argentinian. And I don't. What's this Torrontés? But
yes.
it is really. It is an unusual wine.
Yes.
It's from the heart of Argentina, but great with. A wonderful pairing with Asian food.
Wow, I must try that. I've never tried a Torrontés with Southeast Asian food, so definitely it's something I will be trying.
There's one up there. I'll tell you a restaurant to go up the road.
Yeah, okay, thank you. If I don't like it, you can give me a refund as well, right?
Yeah.
But, now, you was recently, when I say recently, I would imagine a couple of years ago, within Lebanon.
Yes, that's right.
And a lot of people who may consume wine would probably assume Chateau Moussard within the Bekaa Valley is the only wine to come from Lebanon.
Not a bit. There used to be about two or three. Chateau Moussard was one. Kasara is another, which is in the Bekaa Valley, as is Moussard. But now there were only two or three that people recommend to drink. There are 40, a good 40 plus wineries in the Lebanon
40
at the moment. Yes, 40. Messiah is a MASSAYA, not to be confused with religious stuff.
Yes.
But Messiah, Heritage is another one. These are mostly reds.
Yes.
There is. Kasara do a very nice Blanc de Blanc.
Okay.
But don't by all means, if you're looking at a wine list, don't overlook the Lebanon. What I won't name the restaurant, but what annoys me is that there are a couple of Lebanese restaurants I know. One is in Kingston.
Okay.
And they do not have a Lebanese wine as their house wine. And they damn well should.
They should.
And I mean, I go to I say to every time I go there, they've got French wines as their house wine. But they have some. Maybe it's a markup issue. They have a Lebanese wine, but at a rather large markup. Why?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah. Why?
They're producing wonderful Lebanese food in an atmosphere with it. You could almost see a belly dancer come through the door.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you don't. There isn't one, but you can imagine one.
Wishful thinking.
Yes, of course. but they don't. There's no Lebanese wine in the house, but it should happen.
It should. I agree, because a lot of Lebanese wine, especially when I go out with, whether they're clients or when we've been out to a few places ourselves and we've gone to Lebanese restaurants where they do store Lebanese house wines, they're really good.
They are.
You don't need to spend £30-40 on a bottle.
Absolutely not.
You can spend your 20-25.
Of course, the great accompaniment to Lebanese meze. I was only thinking about this half an hour ago, because I was talking to a lady as we speak. I was talking to a lady half an hour ago who spends most of her life she's English, but she married a Lebanese and spends most of her life. She has a flat in Beirut and lives there.
That's brilliant.
So I was talking to her only half an hour ago, and and a friend of ours had a little tiny bottle of Kasarak. This is arak from Chateau Kasara. Get it? Kasarak.
Okay.
Kasarak. It's in a beautiful little bottle, but that's the classic accompaniment to Lebanese meze. But if you're not going to drink wine, of course.
Yes, of course.
But arak, of course, is made by the Lebanese wineries.
Right. Well, interesting facts there, for sure. Now, obviously, of all the events you've attended, and there've been a few, so I know I'm asking you to dig in deep to remember here. And these events that you've attended on our behalf, what has been the most enjoyable?
I think there's a toss up here. I'm lucky enough once a year. They're both annual events. Lucky enough once a year to go to the Fells Portfolio tasting, which is normally held in February, and in a building overlooking a conference centre overlooking the Thames, and there are the wines from all over the world. We have New Zealand. There's America. Very jovial chap runs a winery in California, whom I see from year to year, and we just exchange pleasantries. There is. Then we come back to Burgundy on the other side of the room.
Yes.
I don't actually spend too much time with the Burgundies on that occasion, because I've already been to the tasting that I went to this last week, and it's a good opportunity to sample wines from of differing quality and character and fame from different areas in the world. I was poured a glass of port last time I went there at the very end of the afternoon by Paul Symington, who poured me a glass of a very ancient port, which I enjoyed as a kind of finale to the occasion.
Oh.
The other one, you asked me. Well, I was torn between the two.
Yes.
The other one is an event which is really a bit of a joke, called Imbibe Live,
right?
Which takes place in Olympia in early July.
Okay.
And it's mainly for the on-trade. It's not. We're not. I mean, Carlton Boutique don't really have much interest there. Although there is it's more cocktails and bars and things to put in exotic
aperitifs
mixes.
and
things
of that
exactly
nature.
like that. Although there are two exceptions I'd like to say. One is that there is a small wine section, but the other is that they have some very interesting talks and tastings on wine, I attended one a couple of years ago solely on English wine, given by the one of the important people in the Agricultural College in Plumpton, which is in Sussex, and of course they now run an enology course because of course Ditchling, where they're based, is right in the middle of the English wine growing country, so they're very well placed.
Oh, brilliant!
To educate up and coming wine growers.
Oh, perfect. Okay, and lastly, I think everybody who's going to be watching this will probably know the answer to the question, but of course, you're here to answer the questions, right?
I know the answer.
If you could only drink from one region for the rest of your days, where would it be and why? In a nutshell.
In a nutshell, the Burgundy region, and I have to say, because I have no knowledge. I don't have much knowledge of the Mâconnais or the Beaujolais, but I would say the Burgundy region, and more specifically the Côte d'Or, is where I would quite like to end my days. There is so much that is joyous about that region, in such a concentrated area that I could easily walk, as I have done, from vineyard to vineyard, finding exciting things that I could talk about for much longer than we got here.
Yes.
Much longer time.
Wonderful. Well, Jonathan, thank you very much for taking time out today to come for our show. Hopefully next year we can go to Burgundy as opposed to Bordeaux for an En Primeur campaign.
Daniel, that would be lovely, and you'll be excellent company.
Vice versa as well, especially as you can speak the lingo better than I can. So there we are. But that is all for today. So thank you once again for joining us, and until next time, all the best.
Thank you.